Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of LoanOfficerPodcast.com. We have Charles Williams on the show today. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, we always like to start with getting to know you, the guest, a little bit better, and where you get the majority of your business from right now. That tends to be the one thing that on the comments on YouTube and, hey, where does Charles get his business from? So can you walk us through where you get the majority of your mortgage business from?
Well, we generate our business ourselves. We feel like we're our own best customer. So we're also owners and developers of multifamily and student housing. And we also I happen to have the privilege of serving as the chairman and CEO of a nonprofit called Project PRC. And Project PRC has the mission of becoming the largest owner of student housing, affordable housing, and workforce housing in the United States. And so Project PRC will acquire 20 different properties this next year in 2026. Either some of those will be new developments, some of those will be existing properties, and Pioneer Realty Capital will transact all that business. So
Oh, wow.
we created a model whereby we developed our own customer. Our customer has access to unlimited funds because of its nonprofit status. It can access the tax exempt municipal bond market, and everyone likes the customers that can afford to pay them. And so that's how we curate the majority of our business.
Whew. Man, okay, so now give us your background. How on earth did you get into this business?
Well, it's about 22 years ago. Um, I started out as an engineer. I used to work for Johnson Controls. I don't, a little small company out of
Yeah, yeah,
Milwaukee. Um, so I
yeah.
was a temperature controls engineer. Then I started my own temperature controls contracting company, and I ran it successfully. Immediately, had $3 million worth of business on the books, and then I went bankrupt. I went belly up, and I wondered how on earth could I grow a business that was making money and then go bankrupt. So I
Hmm.
understood that while I knew technology and engineering, I didn't know finance. So I
Hmm.
went to graduate school and I earned a master's degree in accounting and finance. And I said, man, if I had known these things, I would have never gone belly up in my engineering business. So I opened up a company called Pioneer Services, and the primary goal of Pioneer Services was to help small business owners organize their financial records and learn and help them structure deals where they would attract equity and debt. So
Oh, nice.
it wasn't long before I got into the debt placement business in general. And then this was around 2005, 2006, and money was everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I had done a number of deals with Wells Fargo and a gentleman there who I had put these packages together to help clients get loans. He said, have you ever thought about brokering commercial real estate loans? And I
Hmm.
said, well, I don't really know commercial real estate, but I think I'm pretty good at finance. And
Yep.
so, and he made an introduction between Principal Financial Group, who was starting a small balance, lending program, commercial lending program, and they invited me to become a correspondent lender with his recommendation. So I got paid to lend out their money, and so I did my first transaction, and I think I made $48,000 on my first transaction, and I was like, wow, I all of this is my money. I don't have to share it with anyone. And I said, I think I found my career. So we started. We so I started doing commercial mortgages. and everything worked well until about 2010.
Mm.
Because in 2007 is where the financial markets, mortgage-backed securities start failing. It impacted me by 2010. And so,
Wow.
as being in that, if you're selling other people's money, but there's no money to sell, then it's going to
Mm.
be hard to make a living. And so 2010 was a really, really tough year. In fact, it was a tough, really couple years to
Yep.
2012.
Yep. And oh man, there's so much. Like Charles, that's absolutely amazing. So I feel like you're ever an entrepreneur. Like you just see the opportunity within a role and you pivot into those new opportunities. Have you always been like that? Like were you entrepreneurial when you were a kid?
Well, I like feeding my family and eating and making a living. And so I think when you have those obligations and responsibilities, you figure out a way. And I learned a long time ago that working for other people was just not the thing for me.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I worked for Johnson Controls. I think I was a pretty good employee, but at on a whim, they could fire me. I
Yep.
worked at other corporate jobs, and I would see other people who didn't quite look like me advancing, but I didn't advance, even though I
Yep.
felt I was this knowledgeable. So
Yep.
I figured out that if I was going to fail and if I was going to struggle, I was going to fail based on what I did, not based on what others perceived me to be. And so
Amazing.
that created that entrepreneurial spirit, if you will, inside of me to go out and get things done.
That's amazing. Okay, so 2012, things are turning around. What did you do to kickstart the business again and take us through that all the way to where you are today? How did you grow the business and get to where
Okay.
you are today?
Very good question. So, as you know, there was no capital available to lend during that period of time. But a young man had become president and named Barack Obama, and he
Nice.
passed a an act. He was instrumental in passing this act called the Jobs Act. Okay,
Okay.
and inside of that Jobs Act was a tool to spark the economy, to get banks lending again, and it was called the SBA First Mortgage Guarantee Program. Okay. Now, if you're familiar with SBA 504 loans, you know that
Yep.
the second mortgage is guaranteed by the U.S. government, but banks were not lending. So, in this Jobs Act, there was a provision that for a period of 2 years, the government would guarantee 85% of the first mortgage. Okay.
Hmm.
And so now the problem with that is that the banks, same old group of guys that do business the same old way. They don't innovate. They don't change. They ignored it. And so even though there was 100% guarantee on the second mortgage, 85% guarantee on the first mortgage, the banks still were not lending. So
Huh.
me and a group of guys got together and said, you know what? If we could figure this problem out, we could make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So what we figured out is we could uh, go in and make the loan, first mortgage loan, okay, and we could sell the guaranteed portion, okay,
Okay.
and we can make a spread on the guaranteed portion, and we go raise the money on that 15% and make a spread on it, and we get the servicing rights of it, right? And so,
Wow.
therefore, we were able to provide a 9 to 10% return on that 15% portion that we went out in the market and raised. And so as long as that program was there, we made a ton of money. I mean, we were doing hotels. We were the only game in town that was lending on hotels. Period, and we were absolutely slaying it.
That is amazing. And all commercial business.
All commercial, yeah,
That is
mostly
incredible.
hotels.
So you figure out this incredible product. You find this like window of time, this amazing niche. How do you go get the leads of all of the people that want the financing for the hotels?
You have a reputation for getting things done. And you know that's if you look at the history of Pioneer Realty Capital, the comments, you know, we've been in business 22 years, and at the time we had extremely loyal clients, and they know that if they brought a deal to us, we're going to pre-underwrite that deal at the highest possible level. We have great connections in the commercial capital markets. People know us, they trust us, they trust our underwriting, they trust our guidance. So if a deal comes to us and we go to place it in capital markets, that capital provider has confidence that that deal has been pre-underwritten and it's rock solid. And you know, having the background and expertise of accounting and finance, and then having the discipline that comes with being an engineer, I think it gave me a unique tool set to serve my clients in the capital markets.
That is amazing. Absolutely incredible. Congratulations on the amazing success and the pivot. So, uh, coming back to there's a change in the political environment, an act is passed, there's an opportunity that's seen, and you take advantage of it. There's a lot of change happening around the world right now, a lot of change happening. What opportunities are you seeing right now, and what's your recommendation for people in the commercial space in today's market?
Um, I'll start with my recommendation. There are a number of changes. I guess let me start with this: understand your business, understand your business well, understand your business better than anybody else. A lot of things that have just happened. We have the big beautiful bill. Do you understand it? Do you understand how it benefits businesses? Do you understand how it affects financing? How does it benefit your client? How does it benefit the capital markets? You know, in today's environment, you don't even have to read it. All you got to do stick it in Chat GPT and ask it those questions, and it will tell you. So take
That's
the
right.
time to be the absolute expert at anything you do, and you'll never be looking for business. If you're
That's
seen
right.
as the subject matter expert, then people are going to treat you like you're an expert, and you're going to always have plenty of business.
Yep, I could not agree more. I had a conversation yesterday with an executive in the Canadian banking space, and the conversation was spurred on because there's a lot of negotiations happening internationally that are going to potentially allow US banks to come into the Canadian market. My question to him was, "Hey, this change is happening. Like, what are you guys doing on your side of things to prepare in case this happens?" And it was the first he'd heard of it. I mean, he's like very high up within this like international organization. They just don't have the information. And
Hmm.
because I have access to AI and I'm getting the information and they're not, I was able to. It was a pretty interesting conversation. Um,
Right.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more with you. So, are you seeing it? What other aspects of your business are you seeing artificial intelligence touch and start to change?
Oh my God, it's we use it every day, increasingly every day. I actually was in New York last week at a meeting with Morgan Stanley, who underwrites and sells our bonds for us. And the managing director of the bond desk made this interesting comment. She said that the executives at Morgan Stanley have said that there are going to be two types of people that work at Morgan Stanley. Uh, Number one, those who know how to use AI effectively, and the second is going to be AI. In other words, so you know, AI is an incredible tool for me. You know, I because I have to read and know and understand a number of very sophisticated, complicated legal documents on every transaction we do. Now, keep in mind that our minimum transaction is $50 million. So these are extremely sophisticated instruments. And some of our business comes from institutional investors, like Morgan Stanley just gave us a book of about $1.5 billion worth of deals, all of them $150 million a piece, that we're placing with one of our large institutional partners that operate a fund that's $211 billion. So the role that we play now in the capital markets is working with complex, extremely sophisticated debt and equity transactions, but understanding those documents and you know different options around a problem. AI has become an incredible tool in helping us, figure things out.
That is absolutely incredible. So, Charles, I have to ask this question. Um, and allow me to give a little history behind it. So, in the typical loan officer space, which is where we live, we help loan officers generate referral based business, basically, is what we do behind the
Mhm.
scenes. We started about 9 months ago realizing that Google was losing in a really big way to ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok, and like people are going to stop using search engines and they're going to be using ChatGPT to ask their questions, and then businesses are going to become recommended. So we've gone through the process of figuring out how to get artificial intelligence to recommend businesses in local markets. And that's what we're doing for loan officers. We're helping get them recommended.
Mhm.
So we have loan officers that are getting full 1003 mortgage applications because Grok is answering people's questions and then saying, hey, if you want to submit an application, fill out this 1003 because this loan officer is the most reputable in the market. So that's the history and the background behind this thing. Do you feel that an investor as sophisticated as the ones that you're dealing with are using ChatGPT to do their deal research and to do market research and to run their businesses? Like, would they find a lender using ChatGPT?
They won't find. I mean, I get a lot of calls and from people that are using Chat GPT, but the deals that we transact, those clients aren't using Chat GPT. You got to understand, if you were to go to um, someone to represent your loan or your or finding debt or equity for you, and it's $100 million project, okay, and that person fails, that means you just lost your job. Okay.
Right.
So we're dealing with extremely sophisticated borrowers or equity folks that are looking for equity, uh, that rely on reputation and
That's right.
that history of being able to get things done. Now, 1003 applications, generally, those are very small mortgages.
Yep.
It's been so long since we've been in that space that um, I really don't know it very very well. It seems practical to me that if I was that individual hotel owner, if I need to finance some apartments and they're small, I might go and say, find me a lender. But you're not going to get the best deal because the guys that are trading at that level, they're doing it based on relationships. Um,
That's right.
and the one question that you didn't ask me, that you might want to ask me is, how did I go from, a guy that's doing, one or two commercial mortgages to having an expansive network of capital partners where I could fund any credible transaction.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Okay. And the way you do that is you got to go to the trade shows. You got to go to the
Wow.
Mortgage Bankers Association. You got to go to the affordable housing trade shows. You got to participate. You got to get on a panel. You got to build your reputation, build your credibility, be seen as a leader to where the industry is seeking you out. And it's hard because a lot of times when you're first starting out, you don't have that kind of money, right?
That's right.
But early on in my business, I would invest every extra dime I had to go to those events and trade shows and be on a panel, be part of a panel discussion, to be a featured panelist or featured speaker. And over time, my reputation grew, and folks and let me tell you one thing that a lot of people don't know. There's more money out there looking for good deals than there are good deals.
Huh.
So if you're fortunate enough to have a good deal, there's no reason why you can't. And you get the reputation of having a book of good deals, the money will search you out and they will find you. Okay. So by being the subject matter expert in whatever you're doing and serving your
Yeah.
clients and serving the capital markets, just in your expertise, your business will grow.
That is so wise and powerful. Charles, I can't thank you enough for your incredibly valuable time and your insights. What else am I missing? What else do you think the mortgage industry needs to know right now?
Yeah. Well, so you got to understand that there are various facets to the mortgage industry. Just like in any industry, there's multiple facets. Let's take the car industry. You got your basic everyday car. You got your family automobile. You got your little sports market where you want to look good, and then you got your luxury market. So
Yep.
so you have to determine where you're going to play, right? Um, from early on, I made it my goal to play on the big field. I want to get on the field where the big boys are, because if the average transaction is $100 million, then at some point I'm going to make $1 million, right? And I figured if
Yep.
I'm going to spend my time doing this, I want to do it at a level where I was going to make the most money possible. But the key is being the expert. Feed your brain. Stephen Covey talked about it. If I'm a big reader of Stephen Covey, and also Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But Stephen Covey uses the analogy of sharpening your saw, right? Your saw is your mind, okay?
Yep.
And when you go home and you leave work for the day, are you going to spend 2 hours watching television, allowing someone else to tell you how to think? Or are you going to go and study something? If you spend 1 hour each day on one subject, at the end of 1 year, you will become the absolute expert in that subject. That's 365 hours a year. If
Yep.
you're 25 years old and you started learning one subject each year, by the time you're 30, you're an absolute expert in many fields. Now, just think how that translates to your business. How many people can you help when you understand their business, the economics of that business, and how to get that business or that property financed? And see, it
Yep.
all starts with how you feed yourself mentally.
Man, like I interview a lot of really successful and powerful people in the mortgage industry. This is hands down one of my favorite episodes. Like,
Well,
Charles, that is so powerful, and I'm going to make my kids re-listen to this episode tonight when they get home from school. You know that's coming. So a little aside, I'm also a huge fan of Stephen Covey, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins. It's like every day.
mm,
And so I've taken my top personal development mentors and I put them into a chat GPT task. And I tell it every day, I want you to go find a quote and find and write me a motivational talk every morning. And I want you to deliver it to me at 5 a.m. So when I wake up every
Mm.
morning and I look at my phone, I've got a quote from either Jim Rohn or Stephen Covey or all these guys, and it's a different one every morning, but it's like a motivational, educational thing where it's like it's the first thing I see in the morning and it's delivered by ChatGPT. So I don't know if that helps or serves you, but if I can
Yeah,
get something back with
absolutely.
it.
That's. Hmm.
So, Charles, how do people find out more about you? Somebody's out there in the mortgage industry, they want to learn more about you, they want to potentially reach out. How do people reach out?
Yeah, so they can reach out to our firm. We right now we raise equity. We have our PRC equity fund. It pays a 10% dividend, and then investors get a 70% split. What's interesting about that fund, it is an institutional quality level fund, but it's open to retail investors because it's what we call a Regulation A fund. So, and that's something else that came out of that 2010 Jobs Act. And if you
Right.
don't know, if you want to be in the capital business and you don't know about Regulation A public offerings, do yourself a favor and study everything you can about it. That
Okay.
understanding that will make you rich. And that's a direct quote. You can repeat it, put it on a billboard. If you understand.
All right. Well, we ran into some connection issues with Charles, but what an episode. That was absolutely incredible. So, Charles's information is in the show notes below. If you are an accredited investor and you're looking at some of the products that Charles was talking about, feel free to reach out. And I would love some nice comments below if you're watching this on YouTube or on social media, and saying thanks to Charles for being on the episode and sharing his knowledge with us. Make sure you head on over and send your friends to loanofficerpodcast.com so that we can get more great guests like Charles on the show. And we're looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.